Florida Senator Marco Rubio said Trump did not speak for the GOP.
I think voters are capable of distinguishing the Republican Party from Donald Trump, and he'll have to respond for his own comments. I obviously strongly disagree with them. They're inaccurate, and they're offensive, and they're divisive.
At the moment, the only numbers we have to ride the presidential scramble into a hectic summer are revealing what no one could have possibly imagined. A billionaire who for the moment has the attention of everyone, which makes him very happy. A veteran politician who continues beating the early odds but still may have an impossible climb. And what the son of a legacy says that will no doubt come back to snap at him because it already has. So let's dive into the numerical nuances and more. Patrick Murray is director of the Monmouth University Polling Institute in New Jersey, joined by Ryan Girdusky, contributing writer at RedAlertPolitics.com. Gentlemen, thanks both for joining us. Patrick, let me come to you first with the numbers. Donald Trump leading the field in North Carolina. He's making substantial gains across the country. What does this tell you about the people who are saying, yes, we like Trump, and the Republican Party opinions?
I think one of the things that we have to remember is that Trump's numbers, North Carolina side, are 11 or 12%. Because of how wide this field is, how big this field is, it's not surprising that somebody with Trump's profile is going to get that kind of a bump from announcing that he's going to run for president. But it looks like that's actually his ceiling. Because if you look at the underlying fundamentals, which is something that we pay very close attention to this early in the campaign, you've got 2/3 of Republican voters nationwide who say that never, no way, no how would they ever vote for Donald Trump. So among the remaining third, most of those have other candidates that they prefer. So it looks like the bump that he's got is pretty much as far as he's going to be able to go.
Would you say then that looking at what he's getting now and your experience in this and what you've just said, some of these underlying numbers, that your guess might be, in your opinion, couple of weeks maybe for the Donald until other people start to get in and start talking about other issues and the newness wears off?
Right. So we have Scott Walker announcing next week. We have John Kasich getting into the race in a couple of weeks, who's basically an unknown. And I still think that Donald Trump will maintain a level of support and probably enough to get into that first debate with the top 10 candidates. But that's about as far as he can go, because there are people out there who just simply said, there's enough people out there who simply said, we'll never vote for him. So it's kind of, it's an interesting candidacy, obviously one that the other Republicans, as we just heard from Marco Rubio, are not very happy about because of the picture they paint of the Republican Party. But he's going to be around. He's just probably going to do a little bit more mischief than have any actual impact.
All right, Ryan, when we look at a lot of these numbers here and a lot of these various polls that show Trump leading right now, in your opinion, is that just it? Is it more mischief, but at least getting Republicans to talk? And maybe he has started a discussion that a lot of them wanted to shy away from right now, but they're being forced into. That might be good to get opinions out, might it not?
It very well might be. And you know what? It's not mischief, it's populism. And that's what Donald Trump is selling, and that's what the American people want. You know, it's very easy to dislike Donald Trump. He has a very jerkish behavior that is what has made him a success and a reality star. Nonetheless, the message he's coming across, that China is ripping us off, that our borders are open, that there are criminals in our country, is resonating, and significantly so. In the North Carolina and the PPP public policy progressive polling, he's at 16%, 4 points ahead of Jeb Bush, who is a legacy, and 4 points ahead of Scott Walker, who was the leading candidate and the head of the conservative movement nationwide. And what people are attracted to Donald about, especially male Republican voters, is the fact that he is sitting there and making a message for the working class. It's the same reason Bernie Sanders is resonating, and it's the reason Donald Trump is resonating. This is the season for populism in this country.
All right, I got 2 minutes left, and you mentioned Bernie Sanders, so I'm going to stay with you first. There's a thinking process here, Ryan, that Bernie Sanders could win Iowa and New Hampshire, but then lose everything else because of the whiteness of those states and the fact that he has a hitch there, but no place else. You agree?
I don't agree at all. A lot of minority voters are a lot more progressive than a lot of white voters are. You know, what is Hillary Clinton selling? She's selling Hillary Clinton. That's not a lot to offer. Bernie Sanders is coming out with policy issue after policy issue after policy issue. When those 10,000 people, and those crowds of 10,000 people start becoming browner and more diverse, Hillary Clinton will realize the tremendous problem she has on her hands with the Bernie Sanders candidacy.
All right, Patrick, so you look at a lot of the nuances here. What about that? Win Iowa, win New Hampshire, yet still win nowhere else.
I don't see it that way. I look at the polling. Iowa, New Hampshire, Democratic electorates, much more educated and white, liberal ideology, not the working class and not the racial minorities, ethnic minorities, that Hillary Clinton continues to do much better with. So I think it looks like that's where Sanders stops, is in Iowa and New Hampshire.
All right, let's move on real quick. 1 minute left. Quick comment from you then, Patrick. Jeb Bush says, well, he's taken out of context by saying he wants Americans to work longer hours. He walks it back, says, I was talking about part-time workers, not full-time. Do you think that'll have any effect whatsoever, or is that just a blip?
Well, that in and of itself is a blip, but then if we look at what he said about Iraq and the invasion of Iraq and what he would have done in hindsight, these are a couple of little missteps, and they start adding up if this continues to happen, particularly in a race that's as crowded as this one is.
So, Ryan, let's go ahead and look at those potential missteps. Again, it's a minor one, but regardless, do you think this will really have a great impact on Jeb Bush, or are people just looking a little deeper?
Yes, because Jeb Bush is out of touch with the Republican Party. He hasn't held office in over 12 years. He hasn't run in over 16 years. He's wrong on foreign policy for a lot of people. He's wrong on immigration. He's wrong on education. Jeb Bush is out of touch with the Republican Party, and he's running in the Republican Party of the 90s, and it doesn't exist anymore. And I don't see him going very, very far, unless, especially if a candidate like Chris Christie and John Kasich can take support away from him.
Gentlemen, we're going to have you guys back again and talk about the numbers, because that's where it gets to be entertaining, looking into the nuances. Patrick Murray, Ryan Girdusky, thanks so much for joining us, gentlemen. We do appreciate your time. And coming up next, right here on The Hardline, why come 2016, no one will overlook the issue of No Child Left Behind? That and so much more when the fastest 60 minutes in news continues.